Cold does not attack from above. It doesn't arrive with thunder, drama, or cinematic blizzards. It rises silently from the ground beneath your feet. Long before insulation foam, concrete slabs and central heating, the Vikings understood a truth modern builders still ignore. Winter doesn't steal heat through the air first. It steals it through contact, through soil, through stone, through the frozen earth itself. And instead of fighting winter with endless firewood and roaring hearths, the Vikings engineered something far more powerful. They turned the very floor of their homes into a passive heating machine, a system that stored warmth, blocked moisture, and released heat slowly through the night, long after the fire had gone dark. This wasn't luck. It wasn't superstition. It was engineering refined over centuries of survival in some of the harshest climates on Earth. If you care about real history, forgotten technology, and ancient solutions that still outperform modern thinking, you're in the right place. Before we dive in, take a second to like this video. Share it with someone who loves history as much as you do. Drop a comment with where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next deep dive into ancient genius that modern society forgot. Now, let's get into it. Most civilizations feared the wind, the snow, the sky. The Vikings feared the earth. They noticed something others didn't. You could block drafts, you could seal walls, you could build thicker roofs. But if your body stayed in contact with frozen ground, winter would drain you slowly and relentlessly. Sleeping low meant waking weaker. Children grew sick. Adults lost strength. Entire settlements failed because the cold never truly left the home. So the Vikings stopped fighting winter with more fire. They attacked the problem at its source, the ground. A Viking longhouse never sat directly on frozen soil. The floor was lifted just enough, sometimes only a hand's width, to break thermal contact with the earth. That small separation changed everything. By raising the floor, they severed conductive heat loss. The ground could no longer pull warmth directly from the body. Moisture stopped creeping upward. Damp, cold air lost its grip. This wasn't a stilt house, it was a deliberate thermal interruption. A floating floor centuries before the term existed. Other cultures would independently reach the same conclusion, but the Vikings perfected it under extreme pressure. Beneath every Viking floor there was a carefully layered mineral system. Gravel came first, you know, which let water drain downward instead of freezing into a solid block under the home. Above that was sand, spreading heat evenly while staying dry and stable. Then came the stone, not decorative stone, but thermal stone. Granite and gabbro were chosen for one reason: heat capacity. These rocks, well, they absorbed warmth slowly from the hearth and released it even more slowly through the night. The floor, in a way, became a thermal battery. Archaeological sites across Scandinavia reveal stones cracked by repeated heating, ash layers beneath subfloors, and mineral foundations stained by long-term exposure to heat. This wasn't just accidental placement. It was controlled, repeated, intentional use. The fire charged the floor. The floor warmed the house. The house stayed alive after the flames died. Above the stone there were organic layers that honestly modern construction rarely understands. Straw trapped air inside its hollow stems, slowing heat loss but still letting the floor breathe. Reeds resisted moisture thanks to their waxy surfaces. Raw wool insulated even when damp and resisted decay far better than, well, most fibres. Nothing was sealed, nothing was suffocated. The floor breathed. In winter, families would thicken the organic layers to build insulation. In summer, they'd remove portions to let moisture escape and keep things cool inside. This was modular insulation 1,000 years before modern systems, and frankly, far more adaptable. The final surface wasn't, thick hardwood. It was thin planking. That thinness allowed movement, expansion and ventilation. Nordic pine and spruce grew slowly in cold climates, producing dense fibres that, retained warmth while staying flexible. The planks allowed moisture to rise and escape instead of trapping it below. The floor didn't fight nature. It cooperated with it. Viking homes were not collections of parts. They were thermal ecosystems. Turf roofs piled thick with earth-trapped heat from above. Dense timber walls stabilized interior temperatures, and the layered floor released warmth exactly where it mattered most, near the ground where people slept. Heat didn't escape upward. It circulated. Even after midnight, when the hearth went dark, warmth lingered near the floor, protecting life through the coldest hours of the night. Why do modern homes still fail? Concrete slabs? They drain heat faster than stone ever did. Vapour barriers, instead of letting moisture escape, trap it inside. Floors these days are treated as structural afterthoughts, not as thermal systems. We tend to insulate what we see and totally ignore what touches us. The Vikings, though, they did the opposite. And honestly, they outperformed us. So, how do these principles still work today? Raising a floor by just a few centimetres, it actually interrupts heat loss. Gravel helps drain moisture. Organic fibres insulate, but they also breathe. Thin wood releases vapour, and stone stores heat. This system, it still works in cabins, off-grid shelters, survival builds, and cold climate homes. It reduces fuel use, lowers smoke output, and keeps warmth exactly where bodies need it most. Why did this knowledge survive for 1,000 years? Viking families rebuilt their floors season after season. Children learned by watching, not reading. Knowledge was passed through practice, not textbooks. Engineering wasn't abstract. It was survival, and that's really why it lasted. The Vikings didn't beat winter with force. They beat it with understanding. Their flaws remind us that honestly, the most dangerous threats are often the quietest, and the smartest solutions are usually the simplest. If this deep dive into forgotten engineering changed the way you think about history, architecture or survival, make sure you subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who appreciates real knowledge that still matters today. Ancient wisdom didn't disappear. We just stopped listening.